to the Energy Roadmap Bill. And I want to start by echoing what has already been said by our speakers, that this bill allows privatisation of our energy system. It not only opens it up to privatisation, it makes it inevitable. Now, the Treasurer said yesterday that having private operators in the system was the Queensland way. It's not the Queensland way, it's the New South Wales way. It's the Victorian way. They've partially or fully privatised their system. The private operators in New South Wales and Victoria, they get the dividends and not the people of New South Wales or Victoria. That's right. And this is a kind of privatisation that we're facing under this bill, under this roadmap. And once again, Brigalow Peaker, 80% sold. And we have to buy back for 25 years the energy that's produced by that plant that we've once owned. And can I point out that Labor's plan was always to keep that in the public ownership. The LNP have said it was in the plan, our plan. But where does partnership mean selling off your assets to the highest bidder? That's not a partnership, that's a sellout. And we've heard by submitters with this roadmap, with this bill, the door is open to construct, build and operate transmission lines in Queensland. That would be a first. That is shameful. But don't take my word for it. It's in the committee report. And I'll just give you this quote. The Treasury under the LNP in the committee report, it said, in effect, the state will be required to retain the generation assets it already owns, but it will not be required to invest in new ones. And this change is motivated by a concern that the existing target could potentially crowd out private investors, private sector investment, and place pressure on the state's fiscal position. And the Treasury said the government expects relevant government-owned corporations to focus on existing assets and core business to supply energy. Now, focus on existing assets, focus only on core business, we know what these weasel words mean from the LNP. It's a sneaky way to say, get out of the way of private owners, let the private owners in. It's very clear that the field has been cleared to abandon that public ownership of our system. But once again, don't take my word for it. Let's have a look what the committee report says. Now, the committee said for the benefit of public ownership to be realised, it must be maintained only in relation to the right assets.
Member for Pine Rivers, cease quarrelling.
Maintained only
Member for Hervey Bay, I can hear you up there.
Maintained in only relation to the right assets and in the right circumstances. Now, what a caveat. Only keep public ownership in the right circumstances. And who gets to decide what are the right circumstances? It is the LNP. They think public ownership is a rigid approach, an approach that will deter the private investor from private sector from investing. So what we see, once again, the field is being cleared for private sector ownership. Once again, the dividends are going to go to private sector. It's not going to go to the people, to the citizens of Queensland. I think if we look back in a generation, we're going to see that the day this bill passes, that's a day when the ownership of our electricity system starts to slip away from the people of Queensland. Now, we've also heard that the bill and the roadmap will lead to higher electricity prices. And let me make this clear to the climate change deniers on the other side there. Renewables are the cheapest form of energy. The cheapest form of energy. And think about that every time that the Deputy Premier cancels a wind farm project. And just as an aside on that, can I say that cancelling renewable projects and wind farms, it's a trope in right-wing politics. It's sending up an ideological flare to your supporters in a so-called cultural war. And what we see here is a member for Kawana following the example of Donald Trump. And I'll read these headlines to you there, and I'll table this. How Trump is targeting wind and solar energy and delighting big oil. Trump halts construction of a big wind farm off the New York coast. Look, it's very clear now that, I think that the member for Kawana is channeling Donald Trump, explains a lot about what he's been saying, also explains about his new hairstyle as well. Now, the Treasurer...
Point of order, Mr Speaker. This
pause the clock.
Cannot be relevant.
It's not.
It's not relevant.
It's not really a point of order. I just remind members to, maintain decorum when and use correct titles when you're referring to other members. Member for Bancroft.
Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Speaker. Now, the Treasurer said something yesterday that I think no one on this side will say. He said the government stands by their commitment to net zero by 2050. I'm predicting that no one else over here will lay claim to that statement. Only the Treasurer will have said that. Now, the Treasurer yesterday talking, he actually sounded reasonable at some stages there. But let's face it, we know he's not in control about this, isn't he? It's someone else who's pulling the string on the government policy in this area. So let me make it clear to the climate change deniers and the cookers on the other side there, extending the lives of the coal-fired generators beyond their life puts pressure on electricity prices. It means increased costs, it means increased unreliability. We heard the opposition leader talking about that earlier. Now, Speaker, I want to say that it's very clear that this bill tears down energy targets and the frameworks and swaps them for an uncertain plan. And the other speakers will talk about this, how it undermines investment confidence in the sector. The poor lack of detail in the roadmap it will not lead to good decision making. No one is sure how this decision matrix will work, and we've heard from submitters of that. The bill gets rid of targets, which drives investment. I cannot believe we're seeing a modern government in Australia getting rid of renewable energy targets. It is absolutely unbelievable. What we have here is this ideological obsession with the LNP about climate change and renewables. They don't believe climate change is real. They don't want to believe that climate change is real. They don't want to believe that we need renewable energy. I want to give this quote that I found recently. It's by the writer Upton Sinclair. Very relevant. He said, "It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding that." Or we could actually change that slightly. It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his donations depend on him not understanding it. It's clear the LNP oppose renewable energy because they deny climate change. It's been the core of their belief for 20-odd years, and it sends a terrible signal to repeal these targets. And I just want to finish off by saying that the LNP in this process have shown a complete disregard for accountability in this bill. Now, under the LNP-led committee, no hearings were heard on this bill after submissions were closed. No hearing. Only 4 of 41 submitters had a chance to be heard of this. We went nowhere. We heard from barely anyone on this bill. In the hearings, we asked for modelling. We got told it wasn't available. It's in the roadmap. All there was were assumptions and parameters. We didn't get to see the modelling on this. This bill examination is, I think, a new low in how the LNP treats the committee system here in Queensland, in this unicameral system. Under the LNP, in this committee, questions are shut down, they're not taken, motions are ignored. You can see that on the public record. Under the LNP, what we've got is, once again, no accountability. The committee system under the LNP has become a hollow sham, and all it has become is a rubber stamp to stamp on the bills as it's waved through our committees. Thank you.